Mr. Francois.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, very nearly 1/5 of a million people have now signed the parliamentary petition to protect Northern Ireland veterans from prosecutions in opposition to Labour's proposals for two-tier justice. Surely ministers must understand that facilitating lawfare against our army veterans, none of whom received letters of comfort after leaving their service, shows that Labour just doesn't have their back.
I'd like to highlight to the honourable member that 200 families, 200 mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters of those that served, had their inquests and inquiries and insight and understanding closed off when that Act came into place. Serving members of the security forces, they deserve truth. But what we must also do is ensure that we provide the protection for veterans as we move forward, so they are not subject to what the honourable member mentions, which is lawfare, or indeed the process becoming the punishment for veterans as we move forward.
Francois.
Labour's currently stalled remedial order would specifically make it easier for Gerry Adams and his friends to sue the British taxpayer whilst throwing our army veterans, many of them recruited from red wall seats, to the wolves. So after everything they've put Labour backbenchers through in recent months, are Number 10 and ministers really intending to press ahead with this madness and do Gerry Adams a favour at the expense of the soldiers who opposed him? Are they pressing ahead with the remedial order, yes or no?
The honourable member is missing the point. You're trying to divide the House, you're trying to divide veterans, you're trying to divide the armed forces community, and it's got to stop. The reality is we are going to produce a legislation that will allow families to get to the truth. Put yourself in the shoes of the families that have lost loved ones. And then secondly, put yourself in the shoes of the veterans, of which I am a Northern Ireland veteran, and accept that if the protections are in place to ensure that the process doesn't come to punishment, we've got a good solution.
Number 3, Mr. Speaker, please.
Seriously?
Mr. Speaker, in June at the Hague summit, all 32 NATO nations agreed to step up and increase spending on national security to 5% by 2035. And I'm proud that this Labour government played a leading part in the discussions that led to that historic agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow we will vote on a bill which shamefully gives up the sovereignty of our military base in Diego Garcia. Given the commitment to spend more on defence, can the Secretary of State confirm if the money spent on Chagos will be included in our declared NATO spend?
Mr. Speaker, I have to say to the honourable gentleman, the investment in Diego Garcia is a great investment in the defence and intelligence partnership with the United States. Together we do things from Diego Garcia that cannot be done elsewhere. We do things together that we do not do with other nations. The deal is worth less than 0.2% of the annual defence budget. And how is it that the Conservatives have got themselves on the wrong side of this argument about national security when we stand alongside the US as our closest allies?
Callum Anderson.
Mr. Speaker, Britain's commitment to the 5% NATO target clearly sends a strong signal of our resolve, but that pledge must command public confidence that that money will be spent wisely. So can the Secretary of State provide more detail on how he's working with the Treasury, the Cabinet Office and others to ensure that every additional pound of public investment in defence delivers value for money for the taxpayer?
Well, my honourable friend is right. It isn't just how much the government spends, it's how well the government spends. And Mr. Speaker, you will remember that under the previous government, the Public Accounts Committee branded our defence procurement system as broken. We're reforming procurement, and that will be part of my honourable friend's statement this afternoon on the defence industrial strategy. But at the heart, we made a commitment to the British people at the last election that we would raise defence spending to 2.5% of GDP. We are doing that. We are doing that 3 years early. This is a government that is delivering for defence and delivering for Britain.
Right, let us go to Sir Julian Lewis.
When the Defence Secretary says that the Chagos giveaway will amount to no more than 0.2% of our defence budget, that suggests that the cost of the Chagos giveaway will in fact come out of the defence budget, doesn't it?
Mr. Speaker, on the contrary, both the Foreign Secretary and I have been consistent, taken across the range. The cost of the settlement with Mauritius for Diego Garcia is split, but MOD and FCDO. For defence, our commitment is less than 0.2% of the defence budget. It is a good investment for this country. It gives us the sovereign right to operate that base with the Americans for the next 99 years.
Okay, Kirst.
Mr. Speaker, I welcome the leadership displayed by the Prime Minister and Defence Secretary and our commitment to the historic 5% pledge. What steps will NATO take to further strengthen our response to growing Russian aggression?
Mr. Speaker, the response of NATO has produced exactly the contrary results that President Putin would have wanted when he invaded Ukraine 3.5 years ago. NATO is now bigger, 32 nations strong, and in that June summit, the commitment that all 32 nations have made to increase national security spending by 2035 to 5% is a strong deterrent message to Putin and to Russia and to other adversaries, and it will make NATO stronger and bigger and stronger in order to deter in the years ahead.
So, Secretary of State James Cartledge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I congratulate the Honourable and Gallant Lady for North East Derbyshire and the Honourable Gentleman for Plymouth Sutton and Devon on their promotions. But can I also send my best wishes to the Honourable Lady for Liverpool Garston. It was always a pleasure to work with her. On defence spending, Mr. Speaker, can the Secretary of State confirm what percentage of GDP will be used to set the cost envelope for the defence investment plan?
Mr. Speaker, when we've settled our defence investment plan, when we produce our annual report and accounts, the data that the Honourable Gentleman seeks will be clear, will be set out in the customary way to this House.
Right, let's just go back to James Cartledge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the answer, interestingly, is not 3.5%. It's not 3%, it's not even 2.6%. Those are the figures we declare to NATO, not the MOD's budget. But as the then Armed Forces Minister confirmed to me last week in written answer, the amount we will spend on the Defence Investment Plan comes entirely from the MOD's departmental budget. Therefore, the actual figure for funding our future defence equipment is just 2.2% by 2027, with no funded plans to go any higher. I simply ask, given the threats we face, is 2.2% enough?
It should come as no surprise to anyone that the Defence Investment Plan will be funded from the defence budget. That's exactly what will happen. It will be funded and it will be supported by the record increase in defence spending since the end of the Cold War, supported by the £5 billion extra in the budget this year and an aim to spend 3% during the next Parliament. Mr. Speaker, these are commitments that the previous Conservative government had 14 years to make and never made. This is a government that is delivering for defence and delivering for Britain.
Sarah Dyke.
Question number 4, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
I would like to thank the honourable member for their question. Defence as a whole has accepted 33 recommendations from the Women in the Armed Forces report, Mr. Speaker. We have 2 outstanding elements still in train: the results of an Armed Forces sexual harassment survey and the Veterans Strategy with a specific female veterans section. Both will be released in the autumn. On top of this, we have a tri-service complaint system, which I personally brought in, and the Violence Against Women and Girls Task Force to make sure that any woman can serve with safety and pride.
Mr. Speaker, the Atherton report published in 2021 surveyed 4,000 female service personnel and veterans. It revealed that 62% had been victims of bullying, discrimination, harassment or sexual assault during their service. So does the Minister recognise that at a time when we are expanding our armed forces, we must improve the overall experience of women in the military, protect female personnel and help service women achieve their full potential?
Yeah. I'd like to thank the Honourable Member, and I couldn't agree more. And I'd like to highlight that we, obviously, within our Minister for Armed Forces, have an individual who has lived experience of being a female in the Armed Forces. It's really important to mention an individual that sits in the bottom of the command chain. If they are experiencing a problem, where do they go? Where do they seek help? Who do they complain to? You can't do it within the chain of command in some cases. It may not be appropriate, you may not want to. And that's why the Violence Against Women and Girls Task Force is so important, and the Tri-Service Complaint System. It will allow people to come outside of the command chain, raise those issues, and make sure they're dealt with appropriately.
Peter Bedford.
Question 5, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has made tackling small boats and closing every asylum hotel a priority. Last week, I met with cross-government ministerial colleagues to discuss how Defence will contribute to that work. We have deployed a military planning team to assist the Border Security Command and the Home Office to look at military and non-military sites for temporary but adequate housing so we can accelerate closing asylum hotels.
Peter Bedford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The safety and security of my constituents is my number one priority. But given the national security risk posed by some of those crossing the English Channel illegally, I would ask the Minister to re-look at using military assets to physically stop those small boats landing in the first place. Will he do that today?
Well, I'm grateful for his question, and I share his passion for keeping our country safe. Can I refer him to the work of Isotrope, which was a military operation undertaken by the last Conservative government that put the Navy in charge of securing the English Channel. It concluded that naval assets were not suitable for that task. It's already a dangerous crossing, and they concluded that military assets only made it more dangerous, which is why the Armed Forces now are assisting the Home Office and Border Security Command in looking about how we can provide that accommodation to close the asylum hotels, how we can speed up the processing of asylum applications, something the government that he backed shamefully stopped when they were in power. There's a lot of work to do, but we're making progress.
Tam Singh, Chair of the Select Committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In light of the Minister's comments that he and the government are considering using military barracks to house asylum seekers, and while I thank him for his efforts to help address the small boats crisis, I personally, by providing logistical planning support, I personally do not feel that operational responsibility for this should not fall to our armed forces. The experience of Operation Isotrope under the Boris Johnson government, widely criticised by the Defence Committee previously for causing confusion, reputational risk and straining our already pressured military, serves as a clear warning. So can the Minister issue ironclad assurances to the House that any future MOD involvement within this field will be strictly limited, clearly defined and will not strain our already pressured military?
Well, can I thank my friend, the Chair of the Select Committee, for his question. The Ministry of Defence is part of the cross-government response to small boats. We're stepping up our support in order to assist our colleagues in the Home Office. The Home Office remain the lead department for this, but as every government department can contribute something to this effort, it's right that the Ministry of Defence does so, but we continue to protect the nation and deliver the changes as laid out in the Strategic Defence Review. That remains our number one priority, to keep this country safe.